What's up, YouTube? This Nissan Maxima is having an issue where when you hit the brakes, once it comes to a stop, you hear a loud noise, or if you throw it in reverse and you start backing up, you hear a loud noise also. So I'm actually gonna try to demonstrate it, and the lower control arm is bad, so I'm just gonna do this video on how to replace the lower control arm. So looking at the arm and looking closely at the ball joint, you could see this is all cracked up. So this bolt has to be removed, and if you go across, it's another bolt right here that's got to get taken out, and then straight back this one right here. So 3 bolts have to be removed in order to get this entire lower control arm out. And looking at these bushings on the arm, you could tell that this arm is no good. Bushing is all cracked up and separated. That one in here, you could also see is cracked and separated from the metal. And there's a nut at the top, so I'm going to use an open end to hold this nut while I ratchet off the bolt from the bottom. And again, this is a 21, so here I'm going in with my 21 mil. Get that seated, and I'm using a impact gun, but a regular breaker bar and a ratchet would work. 21 on the other end. Back that off. I'm just going to leave that in like so for now. Do the same one to the front one. And on the front one, I'm going in next to the oil filter. Got my wrench on there. Back that out. And for the ball joint, I'm going to come in with an 18. Put it on that nut right here. Secure that. And I have an 18mm socket, and I'm gonna fit that on the bolt. Hold on to my wrench. Back that out. And this bolt just pushes right out. So I'm gonna take this out. And this little slit right here is so you could put a cold chisel or a screwdriver, tap on it, and it'll open it up so the ball joint would actually fall out. Once I have that wedged in and it opened up the gap, then I just get a pry bar in there, and you could see the joint moving. Once I know that's gonna come out, then I go back to the bolts in the back and push those bolts out. That's the size. So now once all the bolts are out, then I'm just gonna use a pry bar again and just pry on the arm just to make sure it's, you know, nice and loose. And I'm just gonna keep doing that and try to pry it out. You can see the whole thing is moving. That's a good sign. Get that out. And now it's still attached. The ball joint is still attached, so use a pry bar on that. And you could see right here, the ball joint is still attached. So it's just to wiggle it out, and that's it, it's out. And I'm just using a wire brush just to clean out the area. Whatever debris might be in there, rust, rocks, just getting all of that out. Here, comparing the old one to the new one, and they match up. You could see these bushings a lot more sturdy. This one I could actually move it. And the ball joint, this is just a protective plastic cover to protect the boot. But this, nice and solid. This one shouldn't be able to do that. Just to give a closer look on the old one, to see that's no good. And now if we look at the new one, look on the ball joint. So now it's ready to be installed. Now on the stem of the ball joint, there's a little groove right here, or a channel, and I'm going to show exactly what's that for once I mount it. I went ahead and put some anti-seize in the hole right here. So pretty much what I did, I got this end in first, and how I did it, I rotated the steering wheel to give the spindle the angle that I needed, and once I rotated it, then I was able to get the back end in. After I got the rear end in, then I was able to push down on the ball joint area, push it downwards and slid it towards the front of the vehicle. That way that other hole would line up. And all this I was doing it while manipulating the jack under the rotor. So I had the jack like right here just to give me some lift, so I could slide it, the ball joint area, I could slide it under and get it in front. And between manipulating the jack, that end was already secured, and getting a screwdriver, once I could see the hole in this lineup, I used a rubber mallet to bang right here so that it pushed it in. And once the hole lined up some, then I was able to use a screwdriver and made sure it was fully lined up, got the other bolt in, and this is how it looks afterwards. So right now, this is where the ball joint is sitting, and I just have to pry the arm downwards, put the jack back under here, lift the knuckle a little bit, and line it up so I could slide the ball joint in the hole. For me to get it on, it's not as easy to get on as it is to take off, but what I had to do was disconnect the knuckle from the strut, and once I disconnected it, I put the jack on the rotor, the bottom of the rotor, jacked it up, got it high enough, and just used double up on a wire hanger, wrap one end around the spring, the other end, use this to hold it up, just so I get the knuckle high enough to where I have a lot of clearance down here. So once it's high enough, then I just use my pry bar, wedged it up in here, pry on it to bring the control arm downwards, and then I was able to swing my knuckle and just rotate it to sit over the hole and drop it right in. Much easier, and maybe took me 5 minutes to do all of that. So if you look in this hole right here, you could see right next to my finger here, that's the bolt, and that little notch in the bolt, the little channel that I showed earlier, that has to, it's cut out in a way that when it lines up with the hole, it becomes a perfect circle. So once you put the ball joint in, you just gotta use like a rubber mallet to bang on the arm, and it's gonna end up being a perfect circle inside. If it's not lined up, the bolt is not gonna go in. And if you look at it, I'm gonna pry it down with a pry bar, you're gonna see it moving. That's what's gonna block the bolt from going in. So once you tap on it with a rubber mallet, and you may have to bang it up or use a pry bar to bring it back down a little bit until you get that perfect circle in there, and the bolt should just slide right in. Now once everything is back together, all the bolts are in, all I gotta do now is torque all the bolts down, and the arm to the frame, those bolts are about 120, I believe, 114, 120 on this year Maxima. You could confirm those specs in your own service manual or your auto mechanic or dealer. The ball joint, that bolt that holds the ball joint, that's about maybe 46, 45, 46. And the strut mount bolts, I believe these are about between 80 to 100. And these, the job could be done with these on, but it's much easier to do it by separating the strut from the knuckle, and you have a lot more room. You could even go as far as taking off the outer tie rod to give you even more room to play with. I chose to leave it on and just go this route to install the new control arm. And from here it's just to button everything back up to spec, put everything back together, go for a test run, and that clunk should be gone. And it's the same exact procedure for the driver's side. The arm is actually the opposite shape. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.